Ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the American industrial landscape, Canada has managed to secure some of Boeing's most lucrative multi-billion-dollar contracts. Yes, you heard that right. America's aerospace giant, once the untouchable pillar of industrial might, is now turning to its neighbor for critical supply and service agreements. And this, folks, has huge implications, not just for Boeing, but for the broader U.S. economy, workers, and the geopolitical landscape. Let's dive in. It all began when Canadian aerospace companies, armed with government subsidies and strategic international partnerships, pulled off something that was once considered unthinkable. They locked down critical Boeing contracts, including fuselage assembly, avionics components, and maintenance packages. These aren't small deals, folks. We're talking billions of dollars, contracts that were once thought to be off-limits to Canadian firms. While the U.S. was busy imposing tariffs to protect its domestic workers, Canada's aerospace sector quietly gained momentum. Strategic investments, skilled workers, and an impeccable track record in research and manufacturing set the stage for this stunning upset. To say that President Donald Trump was blindsided by this move would be an understatement. For months, he had been hammering home a simple message: America will not allow foreign nations to undercut American workers. His administration's tariffs on aircraft parts were meant to bolster Boeing and protect thousands of aerospace jobs in Missouri, South Carolina, and Washington. But instead of achieving that goal, they inadvertently opened the door for Canadian firms to swoop in and seize critical contracts. Trump's furious reaction on social media and his public threats of retaliation were immediate. He accused Canada of economic treason, vowing to take punitive measures. Yet, analysts pointed out that such retaliation could backfire, particularly for U.S. airlines who depend on Boeing jets for fleet refreshment. The stakes here are high, and the impact is felt not just in Seattle or Washington, but across the United States. From Everett, Washington to Wichita, Kansas, communities that have relied on Boeing contracts for decades now face the very real prospect of job losses, economic downturns, and the erosion of industrial expertise that took generations to build. But the ripple effects extend beyond just aerospace jobs. It's the broader ecosystem of U.S. suppliers, from specialized metals in Pennsylvania to cockpit electronics in Ohio, that will now feel the sting. As Canada grabs these coveted contracts, the supporting pillars of America's aerospace industry begin to wobble, setting off a domino effect. So, how did Canada manage to pull this off? The key here lies in the country's strategic positioning and investments in its aerospace sector over the years. While the U.S. focused on tariffs, Canada had been quietly building an aerospace ecosystem, particularly in Montreal and Toronto. Companies like Bombardier laid the foundation, providing a skilled workforce and cutting-edge manufacturing capabilities. These were the perfect conditions for absorbing redirected Boeing work. Canada's rise in aerospace isn't just about economics, it's a calculated geopolitical move. By securing Boeing contracts, Canada has demonstrated its ability to compete with the U.S. in a sector that was once America's sole domain. This success doesn't just shift the balance of industrial power, it sends a message to the world that Canada is a force to be reckoned with. The human cost of these shifts is profound. Communities built around Boeing plants are facing existential questions about their future. From local restaurants to schools and hospitals, these towns are tightly knit to Boeing's success. A single contract cancellation has the potential to trigger widespread layoffs, straining social services, and decimating local businesses. Economists estimate that for every aerospace job lost, 3 other local jobs in retail, healthcare, and services could follow. It's not just the aerospace towns that are feeling the effects. The wider U.S. manufacturing sector is already trembling. Suppliers across the country who once enjoyed steady orders from Boeing now find themselves sidelined as Canada takes the lead. The shift in production will undoubtedly have far-reaching consequences, not only for Boeing's supply chain, but for entire industries that depend on aerospace contracts to survive. Now, Boeing is stuck in a tough spot. The company has 2 paths in front of it: cling to its American roots and risk continued political turmoil, or embrace an international identity that includes Canada as a key player. Either decision carries significant risks, and Boeing will need to find a balance to navigate this new reality. The loss of these contracts could have severe long-term consequences. While Trump's administration is keen on implementing tariffs and taking punitive measures, the reality is that these contracts are already signed, and Boeing's need for international cooperation is more pressing than ever. The company must decide whether it's worth alienating Washington or if it should embrace the shift toward a more global supply chain. This development also has geopolitical ramifications. NATO allies are already eyeing Canada's rise in aerospace as an opportunity to diversify their procurement strategies. With a stronger Canadian aerospace sector, NATO partners can tap into an alternative manufacturing hub, potentially less susceptible to the political volatility that comes with dealing with Washington. And then, there's China. Although China's own aerospace sector is still catching up, every Boeing contract that shifts northward is one more crack in the foundation of U.S. dominance in global aerospace. The message to Beijing is clear. Even America's closest allies can now rival it in high-tech industries. This shift doesn't directly empower Chinese manufacturers, but it certainly weakens Boeing's dominance and signals to the world that American industrial power can be contested not just by adversaries, but by allies too. What makes Canada's success even more remarkable is that it didn't just land these contracts by chance. Canadian officials have carefully cultivated relationships with European suppliers, built research facilities, and nurtured skilled engineers over the years. This foresight allowed them to capitalize on Washington's trade policies, positioning Canada perfectly to absorb redirected Boeing work. The result? Canada's aerospace sector is now a global player, capable of competing head-to-head with the US and Europe. This breakthrough doesn't just elevate Canada's economy, it elevates its global standing. By securing Boeing contracts, Canada is no longer just a resource-rich country, it's an advanced manufacturer with a highly skilled workforce capable of delivering high-value products to the world. The implications of this shift will be felt not just in the aerospace industry, but across global trade and political negotiations. Canada's aerospace coup is more than just a business win, it's a tectonic shift in the global balance of power. For the United States, this is a wake-up call. The tariffs meant to protect American workers have instead pushed one of the nation's most iconic companies into the arms of its neighbor. The loss of these contracts is a blow to American workers, communities, and the broader industrial landscape. And for Boeing, the stakes couldn't be higher. In the coming months and years, we will see how this story unfolds. Will Boeing be able to recover its lost ground, or will Canada solidify its position as a key player in global aerospace? One thing is certain, the global economic order is changing, and the world is watching. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. The global economy is shifting, and you won't want to miss what comes next.